Good morning, preschoolers. It's Mrs. L. We've got a big week at Little Lions Preschool today. The zoo was supposed to come to us with a bunch of animals, and unfortunately we did have to cancel that just because of everything going on in the world. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a fun week talking about all kinds of zoo animals and fun things like that. So we're gonna jump right in and do our weather and our calendar, and then we're gonna talk about the letter Z that starts the word zoo and lots of zoo animals, okay? I bet if we look over at the window, you could tell me what the weather is like today. At least right now, it is a nice sunny day. So I'm going to take my sunny tab and I'm gonna put it up. It always makes me so happy when I get to put up my sunny tab. I hope it is sunny where you live, wherever you're watching from. And we're still in the month of April. Over here, last time we met together, we were back here on April 16th. And look, we've got a bunch of days that have passed since then. Today is Tuesday, April 21st. So I'm going to grab my little card. 21st, that's a 2 and a 1 together, 21. Okay, that comes after 20. So today is Tuesday, April 21st. And as always, we still have 7 days in the week, don't we? Could you get 5 fingers up on one hand? Let's see, 5, that was our number of the week last week, wasn't it? 5 fingers on each hand, and then just 2 on the other, and that gives us 7. Let's do our days of the week song, ready? There are 7 days, there are 7 days, there are 7 days in a week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There are 7 days, there are 7 days, there are 7 days in a week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Great job. Now I told you today is going to be all about the letter Z. Now if you think about it, our whole alphabet, where does the letter Z come? Is it at the beginning? Is it somewhere in the middle? Or is it at the end? Are you saying that it's at the end? Z is actually our very last letter of the alphabet. And look, we've got a cute little zebra up there and a zipper. Both of those words start with Z. Z's are super fun to write because we get to zigzag, and zigzag is also a Z word. Let's come over here and I'll kind of show you how to write a Z. I'll grab my purple marker today. So we said we're going to zigzag, so we're going to do one line across. We're going to cut down diagonally, and then we're going to come back. That is a letter Z, and it makes the Z sound, kind of like a bee buzzing. I'm going to teach you how to read a word quickly. If I take the letter Z that makes the Z sound, and I put one O here and another O here, that makes the word zoo. Anytime you see a Z and 2 O's together, that's going to say the word zoo. So now you can read that word. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about zoo animals today. But first, let's discover some other things that sound with that letter Z, the Z sound. It kind of, I guess that sounds like a bee buzzing. It's super fun to say. I've got a can of alphabet soup here. Alphabet soup with the letter Z in it. Wonder what's inside. Oh, here's this cute little guy. What's that? Zebra, right? Let's put him over here. Good. Oh, this is what I was talking about before. This is a pattern called a zigzag. Zigzag. Zigzag actually has 2 Z's in it, doesn't it? And we zigzag with the letter Z, but you can zigzag when you're doing other kinds of art projects, even when you're running. Whoops, that's gonna fall over for me there. Zigzag. What else? Oh, we have to talk about this guy. This is a zucchini, a delicious vegetable that you can get it at the store. You can grow it in your garden. You can do all sorts of yummy things with it. It kind of looks like a cucumber, but it's not. It's called a zucchini, okay? And how about one more? A zipper. Do you guys have a zipper on your coat? Most of my coats tend to have zippers on them, and that's when I get a lot of my good zipper practice in. But you can hear at the beginning of the word zipper, we get that cool Z sound. All right, we'll close up our can of alphabet soup for right now and do a few more activities with the letter Z and with the zoo. Let's come over to the table. If you have this sheet at home, you can get it out. And if you don't, that's fine too. You can just watch as I go through it. This is just a little game that you can play. I think you can see right over here, we have Mr. Zebra. He starts with the letter Z. Do you see the letter Z on this sheet? Maybe right up here. A big Z and a little Z, yeah? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at all of these pictures. Which of these pictures start with that Z sound? I see some that do, and I see some that don't. And I have a bowl full of chips right here, some marker chips. And what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna put one over the pictures that start with the letter Z. So what do you see? Like, if we look down here, this is a cute little dinosaur. Does dinosaur sound like zebra at the beginning? No, it doesn't. Dinosaur begins with a D, so I'm not gonna cover it up. What about this right here? This is a truck. Does truck sound the same as zebra? No, so I can't cover that up either. But look here, I see a cute little zebra. And I know that zebra begins with Z, so I'm just going to cover him up with a chip. What else? Octopus, window, magnet, strawberries, zipper. Oh, zipper, we talked about him already. So let's put a chip over our zipper. We've got a violin, piano, zucchini. There's that zucchini again. Let's put a chip over him. Banana. Here's a ring, watermelon. I think we have just about all of the pictures that begin with the Z sound, the letter Z. But it's kind of fun going on hunts for that sort of thing. Discovering what words sound like. I'm gonna set this aside right now, and I wanna show you kind of a fun thing. I told you that we were going to do some zoo activities. Can anybody tell me what this is? That's just an outline of an animal. Which animal is that? What's the one with the really long neck? A giraffe, right? Now, I'm going to send this sheet home with you, and if you'd like, you can get out your crayons, and you could just pick, I think I'm gonna pick like a nice light brown color. If you want, you can just start coloring your giraffe. This could be a nice, fun coloring activity. Most giraffes that I have seen have spots on them, don't they? They're like kind of a golden brown color, and then maybe they have spots over their body in certain patterns, so you could do that. Or you could really pick any color that you wanted to color your giraffe. It's up to you. The giraffes that I have seen at the zoo also, I'm gonna set my brown down for a minute. They've got a really dark tail. So I might pick my black and switch to my black to give this cute little guy a black tail. But you could color your giraffe any way you want. The other thing you can do is, I'm going to send this home with some of you, is you could play a game with your giraffe. Do you see a bunch of numbers there? Yeah. This could be a fun game to play with a mom, dad, grandma, babysitter, whoever's watching you. You could either get out a dice and you could roll the dice, or you could have whoever's watching you call out numbers, but this would be a really great number review. So if I would say, let's find all of the ones and let's give our giraffe some spots on the number 1. I'm gonna use these Cheerios right here for my spots, just because they're kind of nice and round like a spot, but you could really use anything. So let's find all of our number 1s and cover them up. I see a big one right up here. So let's give the giraffe a spot right there. Ooh, here's another number 1 down here. Do you see any other ones? Oh, I think there's one hiding way down here on his other leg. Oh, the giraffe has 3 spots now. Let's try number 2. Can you find the number 2s? Here's one. Here's one. Oh, one more maybe over here. This giraffe is getting more and more spots all over his body. What about your number 3? Here's a number 3. Whoops, gotta run away. There's a number 3. Oh, there's one. What comes after 3? 4. 4. Oh, we have 4 4s. Our giraffe is getting spottier and spottier. How about our 5s? Here's a 5. And here. What's left? There's one number left, and it's actually going to be our number of the week. We'll talk about it more in our next video. And number 6. Now our giraffe looks a little bit more like a giraffe with spots all over him. And it was a great way to review our numbers. I was just thinking that some of you might actually have older siblings. That word means a brother or a sister home with you right now. And that might be a fun project that you could do with a brother or a sister too. And then maybe when you're done, those Cheerios could be your morning snack. Just gobble them all up. Now, I told you we were going to talk a little bit more about the zoo today, didn't I? We are so blessed to live in a city, we're in Salina, Kansas, that actually has a zoo. Not all cities have zoos. And I bet a lot of you have actually been out to our Rolling Hills Zoo, haven't you? It's so beautiful out there. And I know the zookeepers right now are taking great care of the animals, even though we can't go and even though they can't come to us. But I hope that when this is all done, you guys can take a trip to the zoo and see some of those animals. But just because we can't go to the zoo, or just because the zoo can't come to us, doesn't mean that we can't pretend. And it can be a great time to pretend to go to the zoo or to pretend to be a zookeeper and take care of animals. I like to do this at my house too. Over here at the table, I've got this nice little box of animals. Maybe you remember it from our preschool. We've got some zoo animals there. And there's so many different ways that we could pretend with our zoo animals or our animals in general. But I've got some trees in here. Have you ever seen trees out at the zoo? It is a prairie, so we don't have as many. Ooh, this is a evergreen, huh? Looks more like a Christmas tree. That's called an evergreen tree. So what animals do we see at the zoo? What about that guy? A lion? So maybe we could put the lion over here next to a tree. What other zoo animals? Tiger. We do have a tiger at our zoo. You could get really creative and you could make little homes, little boxes for each one of them. They've got habitats out at the zoo. Oh, we've been talking about giraffes. We could put a giraffe back here. What else? Just gonna dig around a little bit. Sky. Now we do have some sheep at our zoo. Not all zoo animals, all animals that we find at the zoo are domestic or are wild. Some of them are a little bit more domesticated. Oh, look at this guy. We do not have one of these guys at our zoo. That is a hippo, but he's pretty cool, huh? Let's maybe pick out one more. A hippo. Ooh, this guy is pretty big. You know what kind of bird that is? That's an ostrich. Ostriches run really fast. I'm gonna put him back here. So now you can kind of start to play with all of the animals at the zoo. You could pretend, we could pretend to walk around to all of the encounters. You could have the animals interact with each other. One of the things that I like to do when I'm playing animals with my kids at home, one of my sons, he really likes to pretend to feed the animals and give them a drink. So you're gonna wanna get permission to do something like this, but maybe you could just go get some more of that cereal or some water and create some feeding stations for the animals. I brought some water over here. All animals need water to survive, and all animals need food to survive. Maybe not the same kinds of food, but they're just like people in that respect, aren't they? We need food and water and air. So I'll take a few more. And what I like to do is whatever I have on hand, if it's raisins or cereal or pretzels or whatever, I just like to pretend that that is the animal's food. Then we can, oh, come here, Mr. Tiger, are you thirsty? And he can come up and get a drink of water. And even though this wouldn't happen at the zoo, you could bring other animals up to get their drinks at the same time. I think Mr. Sheep over here would like some food. Bah. They make noises sometimes when they eat and they drink. And you could always have an animal like a hippo actually needs to live by a river or by a source of water because they spend a lot of time in the water. So another thing you could do, instead of having the animals come to eat or drink, you could actually take some of your animals that need to be in water and put them in the water. There's all sorts of things that you could do. And like I said earlier, you could get really, really creative. I'm just gonna walk right over here to our art area. Do you remember our art area at preschool? We've got this cart and it's got all kinds of art supplies on it. I'm just gonna grab a piece of scrap paper here, like this. And maybe I'm gonna grab a green marker and a brown marker. I'm gonna go back to the table. And if you want, you could even create grass. Easy to make grass. Just start coloring your sheet green, right? So this could be one of the homes that your animals live in. I'm not gonna take the time right now to color my whole sheet. You could make a walking path Now at the zoo, they have these paths that you walk on. So you could make a path for yourself, and then you could keep, Mr. Lion, he could stay in his grassy area. You could do all kinds of things. But the point is, we can just have the zoo in our imaginations, and we can play zoo things even if we can't go to the zoo, or even if the zoo can't come to us. So many fun things to do. One other thing I brought from home, one of my kids really, really loves, this is his favorite animal, and we actually do have one of these at our Rolling Hills Zoo. Do you know what animal this is with the big horns here? This is a rhinoceros. And maybe you have some stuffed animals like this too. I also found a monkey at our home. We don't have this kind of monkey at our zoo. But maybe you have stuffed animals at your home, and you could create a zoo out of stuffed buddies too. Just lots of ideas to think about our animal friends today. We have just a couple things left in preschool today. First of all, I wanted to remind you to always read, to be reading every single day. I've got some books right here. They're all about animals, but they're a little bit different. These books right here, I've got a book called Who Would Win? Lion versus Tiger, and this book all about giraffes. Now, these books are really great. They are nonfiction books, which means if you open them up, it's not really going to be a story. They are going to give you facts about the animals. They're going to teach you. Like right here, it says a baby giraffe can run a few hours after it is born. And they tell you all these cool things about giraffes. So it's still a book, but it's not really a story. So maybe you have some of these kind of books around that teach you more about animals, and those would be great books to read. Now, these books right here are also about animals, but these are nonfiction, or fiction, excuse me. These are fiction books, and that means that they're pretend. Do you see this frog and toad right here? In this book, the frog and the toad are best friends, and they talk to each other, and they ride bikes, and they do all kinds of fun things. But can frogs really ride bikes like that? And can they talk to their friends? No, they can't. Or in this one called Lion Lessons, this little boy, his friend right here is a lion, and they do lots of fun things together, and they talk to each other. But can you really go walking around talking and playing with a lion? No. So these books are more pretend, but they still have animals in them. And these are great to get us, to get our brain thinking too. So whatever kind of books that you have at home, try to find a book with animals in it. And it might be a book that has animals in it that is not real. It's kind of pretend. Or it could be a book that teaches you more about animals. Real things about animals. So that's just my encouragement to keep on reading or looking at books. Of course, the last thing that we want to do today is our Bible time. And because we're studying the letter Z, we're going to learn about a man who lived back at the time when Jesus was living. And his name, it was Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus starts with a Z. Do you hear it at the beginning? Zacchaeus. I'm going to sit down on the rug here and get out my Bible storybook so that I can show you. Here is a picture. There we go. Here's Jesus. And you can see that Jesus has a lot of people around him. But you see that Jesus is really only talking to one guy right now, and he's up here in this tree. Do you want to know why the man was up in the tree? It was because he was actually pretty short. God makes us all different sizes, doesn't he? And this man, Zacchaeus, he was a shorter man, but he had heard about Jesus, and boy, did he want to see Jesus. But there were so many people around that he couldn't get a good look at Jesus. So he climbed up in a tree to get a better look. He made himself higher. And the Bible tells us this is a sycamore tree. So here's Zacchaeus looking, and Jesus had all of these people around him, and he could have talked to any of them, but he stopped, and he saw Zacchaeus up in the tree, and he said, "Zacchaeus, come down. I would like to come to your house today. I would like to come have a meal with you." And Zacchaeus was so startled and surprised that this very important man, Jesus, wanted to come to his house. I think we all would understand how that felt if a very important person wanted to come to our house. And so Zacchaeus did. He climbed down, and Jesus went to his house. And a lot of the other people didn't like that because Zacchaeus had done some bad things. He had cheated some people out of money. And they said, why in the world would Jesus want to go to Zacchaeus' house? Doesn't Jesus know what kind of person he is? He has done some bad things. And Jesus did want to go to Zacchaeus' house. Faith worked in Zacchaeus' heart by the Holy Spirit, led him to believe that Jesus was his Savior. And Zacchaeus said, I should not have done those things. I am going to pay back everybody for what I've done wrong to them. And Jesus said, today salvation has come to this house. And Jesus was that kind of man. It didn't matter to him if people were popular or pretty or rich or if they knew a lot of people. Jesus once said that he came to heal the people who were sick, who needed somebody to heal their souls, men just like Zacchaeus. And we might not be like Zacchaeus, where we've cheated people out of money, but we all have naughty things that we've done, and Jesus, just like Zacchaeus, Jesus has forgiven those sins. When he died on the cross, he took our sins away, and he rose again to show how powerful he was. And so we can put ourselves in Zacchaeus' shoes today and say, just as Zacchaeus was forgiven and had Jesus at his house, we also are forgiven. And we want to be close to Jesus and his word. And that's one of the reasons that we take time every day to study our Bible and do our Bible lessons. There is one quick little song that I wanted to do. Zacchaeus has a little song written about him. And I will try to remember to do this on our Thursday video too. Maybe you've heard it before. Zacchaeus was a wee little man. Means he was short. Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree. And he said, Zacchaeus, you come down, for I'm going to your house today, for I'm going to your house today. So I was able to sing the whole Bible story that we just learned in one little song. Sometimes putting music with words really helps us remember some of the words of the Bible stories. Well, that is going to be all for our video today, preschoolers. Thank you so much for joining us. I will look forward to seeing you again next time, and enjoy this beautiful day that God has given us. Bye.